Thank you for visiting the Coin Lady channel again. Ripple and XRP, along with the bulk of cryptocurrency and money, will be the topics of discussion today. So, my sincere wish is that every single one of you is enjoying a wonderful day or night wherever you may be. A major development that occurred not long ago was the Federal Reserve finally speaking up. The central bank has been releasing some quite intriguing statements recently. At this point, I believe we should all be paying great attention to what they're doing behind the scenes. Consequently, the most important thing to consider is the Federal Reserve's actions in 2023. Bedtime had arrived. Given everything we've discussed, why is Fed now such a big deal? Because of this, API services and open banking are booming. One example of an API service is RippleNet. Other services like that can also be accessed through Dara. That is something we have already discussed. Many prominent figures in the industry may now have connections directly to Federal. However, this is irrelevant to the current situation, as the Federal Reserve is openly discussing about CBDCs and stable coins. This comes straight from Waller, the Fed governor. His analogy to baseball cards is crypto, he says. CBDC regarding superfluous. It would appear that they are now virtually abandoning a CBDC. Although I have already mentioned this, I believe this further emphasizes the point that central bankers will use stable coinage for retail transactions while CBD is provided to them. Reason being, it is rational, with the goal of establishing a central bank digital currency, CBDC, and stable coins for the general public. That is the subject I have been bringing up for some time now. Additionally, I think it would be far more efficient that way. However, this is the primary justification for my belief that CBDC platforms are beginning to shift their focus to include stable coins. When it came to platforms that combine stable currency with CBDCs, Ripple was an early player. Regarding the Federal Reserve, however, there have been numerous proofs of concept and testing before. For instance, they do make note of the Regulated Liability Network trial and the Project Cedar for foreign exchange cross-border tests with Singapore. Regarding cross-border CBDC, India also stated that it was collaborating with the Federal Reserve. That is incredibly intriguing. We also have Jerome Powell to consider beyond this. House Democrats need a stable currency, Chair Powell told them. The Federal Reserve would not take any action without the assent of Congress, according to Bill Powell, who spoke to CBC and made this statement public on February 14. Now keep in mind, okay? This year has already seen a concentration on coin projects and legislation. Just a friendly reminder that MiCA is making waves in the Simple Coin Initiative space, which is set to launch in Europe at the year's end. Here in the US, we are being forced to act. Stable currency efforts and crypto legislation are also being influenced by it on a global scale. One of the main points I've been making regarding stable coins is that they will definitely be subject to regulation. Plus, it's likely the first thing people think of when they hear about CBDCs or even central banks, since, well, guess what? Consistent currency by 2022 reached a settlement of $7.5 trillion. This is more than what MasterCard paid out in 2022, you guys. Therefore, stable coins are being considered. They have arrived. Big ones. This is something that the bankers and the central bankers are all too aware of. It's the main reason I think it's important to look at the large corporations collaborating on simple coin projects. I mean, come on. Many of their links lead back to Ripple, and even more to Stellar. Their ties to Hedera are extensive. The words written on the wall are plain to see. However, this time using a CBDC. That seems to be an even more contentious issue. Some have even speculated that the United States would abandon any plans for a CBDC altogether if it decides to switch gears and focus on personal computers, given how far behind other countries are in this area. Additionally, a stablecoin could be in the works. I can see how that might work. Still, I get the impression that there's just too much going on with CBDCs all over the globe, particularly from BRIC powers, not to mention how much ahead of schedule they are. So, in my opinion, American participation in CBDC initiatives has declined. That is why they are arguing that a stable coin is all that is needed, rather than a CBC. The United States will have a CBC and a stable coin, in my opinion, so it's a win-win. Moving on from it, USD must maintain its status as the world's reserve currency. Now this was posted on the 15th, according to Waller. As we can see by scrolling down, they bring up several issues pertaining to Russia, China, and the BRICS countries, which have been actively trying to devalue the US dollar for some time. However, despite their claims, the dollar's disproportionate influence in global trade has not diminished significantly. Now here's the rub, isn't that the case? The cumulative effect of these tiny cuts will be noticeable in due course. The US currency is, in my view, on the line. Looking at the big picture, I believe the US dollar will keep losing out on major trade accords throughout the world and also suffer a significant fall in value when it comes to commerce in general. When thinking about the dollar's future as a global reserve currency, the most important question is what will support it. Sure, we've covered this ground before. It was shocking to learn that US Federal Reserve Governor William Waller said that DeFi may increase the value of the dollar around the world. Cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin have sparked widespread speculation that they could eventually supersede the US dollar as the global reserve currency. The majority of DeFi trade, he pointed out, uses stable currency, and the market value of such tokens is directly proportional to the dollar. Therefore, it's safe to assume that the dollar's dominating position will only be reinforced if trading in the developing globe is expanded. One intriguing aspect of this sector is the possibility of having items linked to several currencies. Nothing is going to stop that. Accordingly, I find this argument to be somewhat unconvincing. However, I also believe that it is the subject of our current crypto discussions. More specifically, if we travel through time, would it be possible? This was discussed in a piece I published on July 8. The International Monetary Fund's statements were a major factor. I predicted the US's destruction and that the currency would soon follow. According to the quote, "The world is being presented with the ideal problem and its ideal solution simultaneously. The issue that has 99% of the population preoccupied. There are major initiatives and ideas in this area that have the potential to significantly improve the efficiency of the international monetary system and trigger a technology revolution unlike any other. In my opinion, de-dollarization is a solid move. The new system will rise faster if additional settlement currencies and systems are used, and if the BRICS countries continue to expand and create new currencies. Pay close attention to the main links with the IMF, XRP, SDC, and SLM. This space also contains other programs. Some have already begun using blockchain DLT, and more will follow. However, they are getting ready to build the infrastructure without considering size. Finally, this is what we got in June of 2022 from the International Monetary Fund. Global monetary policy could be on the cusp of a sea change due to a confluence of economic, geopolitical, and technical factors. The US dollar may fall, but it will keep rolling. What they mean is that the present financial system is under a lot of pressure to collapse so that the new system may be introduced. Yes, that has been our strategy all along. Everyone keeps asking, what are the BRICS doing, as if they are the only sound in the world. Is this procedure, Sandman, what's happening? This whole thing is. It's obvious that they have a plan to introduce the new system. Everyone assumes I'm a tinfoil hat no matter where I go, or what I do now. It is difficult to step back from the current situation and say, yeah, this is all real, when we consider everything that is happening. Much is happening. There is no real support for it. No destination is in sight. When you consider all the facts and the interconnections between them, you'll see that this is actually happening. Looking at the last 4 years, specifically from 2020 onwards, by itself, reveals their ultimate objective. The fact that physical cash usage has declined dramatically due to the pandemic was their main point. Therefore, digital assets and digital payments must be introduced. Clearly, the use of actual currency will decrease. In the comfort of their own homes, every single person was browsing Amazon. Online buying was the norm for everyone. That is, indeed, a significant matter. Guess what? They used it to their advantage and said, hey, look at this, we need to introduce a digital system, we need to introduce digital currencies because no one wants to use physical cash anymore. Dirty, germ-ridden, and otherwise unfit for human consumption physical currency is. But you know what? Here we are, with all these trials involving the BIS, the IMF, the World Bank on the subject of Israeli currency. However, in 2022, sanctions will be imposed on Russia and all. A currency war has sprung out all of a sudden. Okay, the BRICS are slipping away from the United States. The dollar is now universally believed to be in jeopardy. There are doubts about the petrodollar pact. We have already discussed this, haven't we? Reason being, we must consider opposing viewpoints. I believe the United States should take the lead and use this technology regardless if all this is happening, but if it's not a big accelerator, then there is good reason to be concerned. The flip side is that this might all be a catalyst for the widespread adoption of this technology. We are at the vanguard of this technological revolution, thus these technologies deserve all the attention they can get. That is the end of the video. Once again, I ask that you like and subscribe. Muchas gracias, depart.